Hey everyone, it's Niamh here. Welcome to my art journaling channel. Forgot what I was going to say for a minute. So today we're going to be playing with some watercolors, and these are color shifting watercolors from Hydracolor, and they're all watercolors I've bought. But I saw James Luke Burke got some, and I was really fascinated by them, so I thought I'd have a go at using them. Now, I am not a watercolorist. I'm just putting that out there right now. When I use watercolors, tend to use them over the top of collage, but I was just really fascinated by this color shifting idea behind them. So I wanted to have a play with them. So color shifting just basically means the mica or the pigment that's in them has got two shades to it. So when you shift it in the light, you get different colors. You can sort of see that coming through. And surprise, surprise, on the other page, I actually swatched. I surprised myself, but you can sort of see the colors there and how metallic they are. When I sort of shift the page, you can see how metallic they are. So I'm just doing a quick drawing in my 6x6 Dina Wakley watercolor journal. And again, this watercolor paper is much better than in the other watercolor journal, but it's not true watercolor paper or what I expect watercolor paper, so it doesn't quite work in the same way. But I just wanted to have a go. And the image that I'm using, you can see I've got a printable there. That's from Little Raven Ink. And the image that I'm kind of creating is based on an image she did for this little Japanese girl. It was a really sort of simple shape that she drew. And because I had these paints, I just wanted to do something that I could paint out fairly easily myself, and more just to play with the paints rather than to worry about the image. So all inspiration for this image goes to Little Raven Ink. It was just for me to have a go because I just really loved that face and I wanted to do something with it. So I'm just painting in with different colours and drying it off. Again, I know with watercolours you're best not to heat it, but I was really impatient. I just wanted to try. And you can see here I'm just trying to use all the colours, so I'm going in. I have to say I found them a little bit of a different, they weren't quite as water reactive as I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, but it actually took a little bit of water to actually get them to activate. When they do, they're brilliant, but I just used a little bit more water than I thought, and you could see me actually mixing it there for a little while to actually get it sort of going, particularly the ones that are actually the color shifting ones. So that was Summer Sunset, which is what I'm using at the moment. You can see it's sort of got those burgundy and black tones in it, but it gives you that really cool shaded effect without very much effort. So using dual tone paints is really, really handy. Now, if you didn't have paints like this, there are lots of metallic watercolors on the market. These ones are a bit pricey. You can get all sorts of metallic ones on the market. You can also get dual tone acrylic paints. I know Deco Art has some. Lumiere's, I'm pretty sure they're still on the market, has got a beautiful range, blue, green, gold, and halo pink, which was one of my favourites, which was the pink gold colour. So there are a few colour shifting acrylics out there too that you can get, which will give you very similar effects as well. But these just so happened to turn up this day and I want to play with them, so I turned the camera on while I was playing. So I'm just going in and trying to do some mic making over the top, seeing how they sort of all react with each other and how they work with each other, and they actually layer over each other really, really well. I also wanted to try them out with proper, so to speak, watercolors, or ones that I knew worked a little bit better. So I'm using the Jane Davenport ones because I really love this blue colour. And you can see the difference. On the left-hand side, I just sort of started painting with a wet brush. On the right-hand side, I actually wet the page and let the colour flood in, which I liked a lot better. So again, if you are actually a watercolorist, you could do amazing, amazing things with these. So once I had the base coat down with the blue, then I went in with the colour shifting, I think it's called Spellbound, that sort of bluey black colour. to create the sort of shaded edge, and then just drying it off. And finally I'm going in and just doing some of the detail work, I suppose. I'm a terror for not using the right paintbrushes for the right jobs, so I'm actually surprised I've got a thin paintbrush out to do this, because that doesn't usually happen. And I'm just going in and playing and putting chopsticks in the hair and little dangly things, again based on the image from Little Raven Ink. So those people who follow her Patreon will sort of recognize this image. It is changed somewhat, but the image itself is kind of similar, but it was fun to do. So again, breaking all watercolor rules and actually heating that. And you can see the image that I'm painting over is done on sticker paper, which again obviously isn't watercolor paper, so you can kind of see it wrinkling a little bit, and the adhesive of the sticker paper doesn't necessarily like the amount of water that you're going to be using with watercolors. So if it does start to move and shift, just be aware of what you're doing. You can print out in some printers onto watercolor paper if it's a thinnish watercolor paper, so that could be an option too, and color onto that. I don't have any of those fancy things though. I've just got what I've got. So I'm just going in now with a paint pen just to add in some extra detail over the top. Just a little bit of pattern work, putting in some, you know, loopy dots. Please excuse my head in the way. Desperately need to go to the hairdresser. And putting in the whites of the eyes again, just to make everything sort of pop out of the page somewhat. And you'll find with a lot of work that once you put in the paint pen or the final details, it makes all the difference to what you expected before. And you can kind of see when I'm tipping it up and down that you can't really see the paint pen on this, but when you lift it up you do. So that's again part of the properties, I suppose, of the color shifting paints, because when you move it you can sort of see the different areas. So I'm just going in now with a quote right over it. I started off with a food ball pen, but that doesn't really like stuff that's too wet, so I decided to actually go for the paint pen. So silence isn't empty, it's full of answers, which I really love that quote, and it's so true. So I'm just going over it twice just to make sure it actually pops out from the background. The paint pen worked over the watercolors really, really well. So you can see me here sort of lifting it up and shifting it, and here is a close-up of the page. So you can see all the sort of shimmer and shine in the page from the different angles, and how intense those colours actually are and how they blend together, and some of that granulation happening in the background. So that's my little attempt at a watercolour. As I said at the beginning, I am not a watercolourist, but I had fun doing it. I had fun playing with these, and while I may not use these for doing watercolours, there's certainly something that I'll incorporate over the top of my collages just to add that extra shimmer and shine when you move the pages, because I think that will make things really, really interesting. Until next time, bye for now.